Hi there. My name is Mark Willett, and I'm the director for the International Center for Academic and Professional English, or ICAPE, here at Lehigh University. In this series of lectures, I'll be talking about issues related to academic integrity and what that means for students, graduate and undergraduate, at a prestigious institution of higher education like Lehigh. Over the course of the 4 lectures, I will talk about what academic integrity is, what it entails, what are some different types of violations to academic integrity, such as cheating, fabrication, and plagiarism, why academic integrity as a cultural and educational construct is important for many professors and administrators at an American university, what are different types of problems that students face and their consequences, what are the different language skills and cultural knowledge that you need in order to be successful in avoiding such violations to academic integrity, what are some ways that you can practice on your own, as well as some useful suggestions and resources on campus and online that will help you to continue to grow and develop as a student and as a scholar and as a professional. While different professors can have a wide range of expectations for certain assignments, when it comes to issues of academic integrity, they generally expect that you will engage with your academic work honestly and responsibly in order to develop as a student and as a potential future professional. Broadly speaking, though, their expectations for you as a student with regard to academic integrity fall into 2 major categories: independent responsibility and community membership. The first, independent responsibility, means that professors expect that you will take responsibility for your own learning by working independently and taking sufficient time to study, understand, and prepare for assignments. If you encounter difficulty, professors expect that you will seek out the appropriate source or sources for help and adhere to university policies and guidelines regarding the type of help you receive. In this way, any work you submit as your own will primarily represent your own intellectual or creative efforts. Community membership means that professors expect when you are using the words and ideas of others in your field of study, for example, by borrowing from others or by receiving help from others, that A, you will ensure that doing so is appropriate given the parameters of the assignment, B, that you will acknowledge whose work or help you are using, and C, that you will build on others to present your own intellectual or creative work. Now, these 2 expectations do not necessarily mean that your professors want you to avoid any type of collaboration with others. In fact, collaboration, for example, hashing out ideas with other students, sharing each other's work or insights, building on what other people have said or write or have created, providing and receiving feedback from colleagues in your field of study. All of these things are collaborative activities and are often valued by professors as part of the learning process. They're seen as part of the cornerstone of a U.S. education because these collaborative activities help you come to more creative products, higher levels of learning, more complex ideas within your disciplines. Rather, what is important here is that you understand what types of collaborative activities are appropriate to engage in on a given assignment within a given discipline. And further, it's important that you understand how to use such collaboration to enhance your own learning effectively. So the next question you might be asking is, how do I know if I'm following my professor's expectations with regard to academic integrity in my classes? There are many different types of academic dishonesty, but the 2 that I'm going to focus primarily on are cheating and plagiarism because these seem to be the most common, particularly for multilingual speakers of English. Cheating refers to any attempt to obtain assistance in a formal academic exercises without due acknowledgement. That means without the teacher giving you permission. Any type of help or any type of, from another person, any type of resources or notes that you might use in an academic exercise like homework or test when the professor has not given you permission or instruction to do so. Plagiarism refers to the adoption or reproduction of original creations of another person without due acknowledgement. That is, using another person's essay or taking a piece of another person's work and claiming it as your own without giving credit to that other person. This could be another student, certainly, your professor even, another source from the library, or on the internet for that matter. Here it says giving assignment answers or test answers for money or paying someone to complete your work, like an essay, might also be considered as plagiarism, even if you give the answers yourself and it's your own work. This might also be considered plagiarism. More specifically, if we look at both cheating and plagiarism, we can look at very specific types of activities. For cheating, these following activities might be considered cheating in a given context. Copying answers from another person's test in a test-taking situation. Using prohibited reference materials during an exam without permission. For example, using your book or using your notes or what are called crib notes, little pieces of paper like little cheat sheets, if this is disallowed by your professor. So it's always good maybe to ask your professor what his or her expectations are in a test-taking situations. Selling or buying the work of another person's work. Manipulating or misrepresenting the work of others to make the information support your own work. Fabricating your own work by presenting information that is not true or presenting research that never happened. This can be quite common to sort of make up research that you didn't even complete, or to state in your essay that you observed some activity as part of the assignment and you actually didn't, but you made up the report. Allowing another person to revise your work so that it no longer represents your own intellectual efforts. Here is where the gray line sort of occurs. Like if you go to the writing center, or if you have a friend look at your work, or another teacher, a question that's always really important for you to ask yourself is, how much help am I getting, and how much am I, as the original creator of this work, putting in? If another person is rewriting the whole paper for you and not just giving you suggestions or correcting one or two or three examples, and if you're not taking the lead on that and doing most of the work, then this could be considered cheating. This kind of overlaps with plagiarism a little bit. Remember, plagiarism is using the words and ideas and even data or visuals of another person in your own work without giving due or appropriate credit to that original source. Plagiarism can include submitting the entire work of another person as your own, that is whole scale. Taking your friend's work, essay, for example, and just putting your name on it and submitting it, or another published author's work and submitting it as your own. It can involve using other people's exact words without marking it as quoted material, and or without attributing credit, without saying Bill Smith said in his article, blah, 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 quote, blah, 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 and then often with an exact page number. The reason here is because you want to show that these are someone else's ideas that are and words that are supporting your own, and that if your reader wants to go check the original for accuracy, or if your reader wants to write an essay or article based on yours, that person needs to go check the original again in order to fully understand the concepts to build upon in your discipline. Plagiarism can also involve paraphrasing or putting into your own words the words and ideas of another, but doing so too closely to the original, with or without giving credit. That is, it's not just you borrow the words, but you can borrow the ideas of another person, put them in your own words, and as long as it's an accurate representation, and as long as it is far enough away from the original but maintaining the original meaning in your own words, then you attribute credit. As long as you do that, then this is okay. But if the paraphrase is too close to the original in terms of the vocabulary or the grammar, that is, if you're just putting in synonyms, 2 or 3 synonyms, but maintaining the essential wording and grammar of the original, then this could be considered plagiarism. Again, always check with the Writing Center, check with your professor if you're concerned about this. It can involve stringing together multiple quotes or paraphrases from different sources without distinguishing between them. For example, if you, in your essay, you say, you pull out a quote from someone, from an original source, then you paraphrase another, then you quote another, and you don't give proper credit from these multiple sources, it looks like all one voice, then this could be considered plagiarism. Finally, turning in papers that you wrote for a different course or a different publication can also be considered plagiarism. This is often called self-plagiarism, where you've written something previously, but you're presenting it as a new introduction to your discipline. You say, well, why? This is my paper. How can I plagiarize myself? The answer is that you may be seen as cheating yourself. That is, you're not allowing yourself to learn and develop further in the context of this new class through this second assignment. You're just reproducing what you have learned previously without building on it or complexifying it through the new assignment. Now, when it comes to instances of academic dishonesty like those I've talked a little bit about, there are several possible outcomes or consequences that you should be aware of. One of the least serious possible outcomes and consequences could be that the professor reduces your grade on a specific course assignment or test. That is, might reduce 10 points or 20 points for plagiarizing, for example. And that professor may or may not give you the opportunity for an additional attempt, that is, to revise the paper or to take the test over again in another testing session. That may or may not be possible. More seriously, the professor might give you a failing grade on that specific course assignment with no opportunity to improve. Even more serious might be that the professor reduces your final grade for the whole course, or even your final grade might be failing if you engage in such activity. University policy states, however, that if there is a serious violation of academic integrity, that the professor is supposed to file what's called a Section 3. A Section 3 is an online form that professors fill out detailing the type of academic integrity violation that the student has engaged in, and this could be followed by academic advising and counseling, but also might be followed by some university judicial procedures, depending on the type and extent of the instance of cheating or plagiarism, for example. That is, you might be asked to go before a hearing and plead your case, and some judicial decisions will be made with regard to your further continuation at Lehigh University. More serious, or most seriously for international students who are here on a student visa, one possible outcome could be that your F1 student visa and I-20 could be revoked or taken away because you have failed to demonstrate steady academic progress outlined in the conditions from the Office of International Student Services, the conditions of your I-20. And then finally, one possible outcome could mean that you are suspended from the university or even expelled entirely from Lehigh University for committing acts of academic dishonesty that are antithetical to the values and principles of the university. So you can see that these are very serious issues, or they can be very serious issues for all students if they engage in violations to academic integrity. Key to understand here is that the university wants you to be successful, and they want you to learn and develop and become a valuable member of the academic community in your academic disciplines or fields of study. And much of that means following rules and guidelines that the university sets out, that your department and your professor expect you to follow, and that help you to become a valued professional, scholar, and individual within your respective disciplines. And that's the key point here. In the next lecture, I'm going to be talking specifically about plagiarism, because this is a very common issue for new students at a university, but particularly multilingual speakers of English at the undergraduate and graduate levels. I want to talk about what plagiarism is, how to avoid it, and what are some resources and different suggestions that you can consult in order to avoid plagiarism and improve.